Understood. Here is a 3,000-word expansion of the line, "The greatest revenge is healing," in the style of Miles Monroe, without headings. They thought they broke you. They thought their manipulation, gaslighting, control, and emotional warfare would keep you in chains. They believed that if they stripped away your confidence, questioned your worth, and played with your mind long enough, you would stay tethered to the lie that you were less than enough. But let me tell you something today. The greatest revenge is not retaliation. The greatest revenge is healing. You don't need to scream, expose, or retaliate to get even with a narcissist. You don't need to waste your breath trying to make them see the pain they've caused you. In fact, trying to make a narcissist feel guilt is like pouring water into a bottomless pit. It never fills. Because people who build their identity on the suffering of others are rarely capable of true remorse. They are too addicted to the image they've built, the illusion they've created, and the mask they wear. But what shakes them to their core, what terrifies them, is seeing you rise without them. It is seeing you thrive in the very space where they once held you hostage. It is witnessing your joy when they planned for your destruction. That's the pain they cannot tolerate, the pain of your elevation. Healing is not just recovery, it is your resurrection. It is your rebirth. And when you heal, you reclaim every piece of yourself they tried to fragment. Every tear becomes fuel. Every scar becomes sacred. Every moment you thought was wasted becomes wisdom in your hands. When you choose healing over hate, you choose power over pain. The narcissist expects you to break, they expect you to beg, they expect you to fall apart without their presence, their validation, or their approval. So when you stand firm, when you smile from the inside, when you no longer flinch at their silence or their shade, they begin to crumble from within because they lost control. They lost the one thing they tried to conquer, your spirit, your ability to love, to laugh, to believe, and to rise again. And make no mistake, your healing is not passive. It's warfare. It's a decision every single day to look yourself in the mirror and say, I will not live in the trauma they left behind. I will not wear the identity they placed on me. I will not call myself broken when God calls me whole. That is where power begins, not in the loud moments, but in the quiet victories. Your healing exposes their weakness. Why? Because narcissists thrive on attention, even if it's negative. They thrive on reaction. So when you stop reacting, when you grow silent, focused, peaceful, and centered, when you stop explaining yourself, defending yourself, or even thinking about how to make them feel what they made you feel, that silence screams louder than any confrontation ever could. They don't fear being hated, they fear being irrelevant. They fear being forgotten. They fear your peace. They fear your freedom. They fear your glow. Because they know deep down they never had the power they pretended to have. You were just unaware of your own. Let me remind you, you are not what they did to you. You are what you choose to become after it. You are not the words they used to tear you down. You are the truth that rises despite them. Healing gives you your power back. Healing reminds you that you never needed their approval to be whole. Healing is the ultimate declaration that what tried to destroy you has no authority over your destiny. You don't have to play by their rules. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to make them suffer to feel vindicated. When you heal, the pain they caused loses its power over you. And in that moment, you become untouchable, unshakable, unbothered. Your spirit becomes sealed by purpose. That's the kind of peace they can't imitate. That's the kind of power they cannot steal. And healing doesn't mean forgetting. Healing means learning. It means seeing clearly now. It means recognizing the signs, understanding the cycles, and never allowing yourself to re-enter what God delivered you from. Healing is wisdom in motion. It is discernment. It is strength clothed in grace. And when you walk in healing, you stop being prey and start becoming purposeful. Here's what they don't tell you. Narcissists feed off the version of you that doubts yourself. So when you start building your identity on truth instead of trauma, when you start loving yourself from a divine place, when you set boundaries without guilt, when you start saying no with confidence, they lose access to you completely. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. And that right there is the kind of pain they can't bear. To see you no longer need their approval, their validation, or their presence. The greatest revenge is healing, because healing makes you whole. And whole people don't chase broken love. Whole people don't beg for apologies that will never come. Whole people don't shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone. Whole people walk in alignment with their calling, not attachment to their past. Every time you choose peace over pettiness, love over bitterness, purpose over pain, you win, you rise, you grow. And every time you do, the narrative shifts. You are no longer the one left behind, you are the one moving forward. So let them wonder why you're glowing. Let them question how you're thriving. Let them sit in the silence you once used to fill with desperate explanations and overextensions. Let them sit in the consequences of the chaos they created while you rise in the calm of your new beginning. There's nothing more painful to a narcissist than the realization that the person they thought was weak, dependent, and desperate has evolved into someone unrecognizable, someone powerful, poised, and peaceful, because they thought they were your source. But your healing proves that they were just a lesson, not a destiny, not a future, just a chapter that sharpened your discernment, deepened your strength, and clarified your vision. Healing isn't easy, it's messy, it's slow, it's sacred, but it is worth every tear, every prayer, every quiet night you choose to fight for your peace instead of picking up the phone to beg for love. And every time you choose yourself, you send a silent message: you don't control me anymore. God is not in the business of revenge. He's in the business of restoration. He will prepare a table for you in the presence of those who tried to destroy you, not so you can gloat, but so they can witness what happens when grace steps in and says, "This one belongs to me." So the next time you wonder how to make a narcissist feel the pain they caused, remember this: healing is the message. It says you survived, you overcame, you reclaimed everything they tried to steal. And most importantly, you no longer carry the weight of their dysfunction. You carry wisdom, you carry purpose, you carry peace, and that is power. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the presence of restraint, discipline, and divine wisdom. In a world that equates strength with noise and reaction, choosing silence in the face of narcissistic manipulation is one of the most profound declarations of self-worth. When a narcissist expects you to react, to beg, to plead, to explain, your silence dismantles the illusion of their control. It cuts deeper than words because it denies them the fuel they crave, your emotional response. A narcissist is addicted to chaos. They feed on your confusion, your need for closure, your hunger for validation. Every argument you enter, every attempt to get them to see your point of view only reinforces their power over your emotions. They do not engage to understand, they engage to dominate. They twist narrative, shift blame, and project their darkness onto you until you begin to question your own light. But silence becomes your boundary. It is the line in the sand that says, I will not dance to your dysfunction any longer. Your silence speaks volumes. It says you no longer have access to me. It says I have moved from reaction to revelation. It says my peace is more important than your attention. Silence reclaims your time, your energy, your spirit. It teaches the narcissist that they are not the center of your world, not the controller of your emotions, not the author of your story. It teaches you that you are powerful enough to walk away without needing to be heard, understood, or validated. And here's the beauty: narcissists don't know what to do with silence. When you stop defending yourself, they lose their weapon. When you stop chasing clarity from someone who lives in confusion, you rob them of their control. Silence exposes their insecurity. It forces them to sit with their emptiness, because your presence was the light they used to hide their darkness. And now that your light is gone, all they're left with is themselves, and that is their greatest punishment. But this kind of silence isn't passive, it is strategic. It is the silence that comes after healing. It is the silence that says, I have nothing left to prove, no fight left to fight, no role left to play in your theater of illusions. It is the silence that comes from knowing your worth. It is not the silence of suppression, it is the silence of strength. The silence that has cried its tears, faced its trauma, and emerged wiser, calmer, clearer. When you fall silent after healing, you radiate a new energy. You are no longer the person they once controlled. You no longer respond to their guilt trips, their fake apologies, or their dramatic exits and re-entries. You don't clap back, you don't defend, you don't try to make them see what they've done, because you've realized that true justice isn't about them seeing, it's about you seeing. Seeing yourself clearly, seeing the game for what it is, seeing the exit and taking it with dignity. There is no script more powerful than the one where you walk away without a scene. Narcissists expect you to beg. They expect a performance. They expect closure. Your silence gives them none of that. It gives them emptiness. And in that emptiness, they are forced to face the truth they've long buried under manipulation and control. They are not as powerful as they think. They only had the power you gave them. And now that it's gone, they are left with themselves, and themselves alone. That is the pain. That is the reckoning. That is what makes a narcissist feel the weight of their actions, not because you attacked them back, but because you grew so deeply they couldn't reach you anymore. You didn't shrink. You didn't retaliate. You elevated. And that elevation, it's everything. It's what they never expected. It's what they can't imitate. It's what they'll never forget. Your silence becomes their echo. Every time they reach for someone else to control, they remember the one who got away. Every time they look for a reaction, they remember the one who went quiet. Every time they try to repeat the pattern, they remember the one who broke it. Let them remember you by your silence. Let them feel the distance. Let them sit with the reality that you are no longer there to fix, explain, or absorb their chaos. You are not theirs to distort. You are your own to protect. That is the power of silence. There is something sacred about the moment you begin to change, not just superficially, not just your habits or your routines, but when your soul starts rising, your perspective starts shifting, and your spirit starts aligning with truth. That kind of transformation shakes the foundation of every relationship that was built on your brokenness. Because when you start healing, growing, and elevating, you begin to see clearly, and what once seemed acceptable starts to look toxic. What once felt like love reveals itself as control. What once made you feel guilty now makes you feel grateful to be free. Your transformation is not just about you becoming better, it's also about you becoming aware. And with awareness comes disruption. The dysfunction that used to blend into the background of your life suddenly becomes unbearable. The lies you used to overlook begin to scream for attention. The manipulation you once justified becomes intolerable. You're no longer playing small. You're no longer bending to keep the peace. You're no longer dimming your light to comfort someone else's darkness. And that terrifies dysfunctional people, because your transformation confronts them with a mirror. It holds up a reflection they can't hide from anymore. It shows them who they pretended to be while you were broken. It reveals the truth they tried to bury under charm, control, or convenience. You were easier to manage when you were unsure of your worth. You were more accessible when you were still questioning your value. You were more predictable when you didn't know who you were. But now you walk with discernment. Now you set boundaries with conviction. Now you choose peace over attention, and they don't know what to do with that. Dysfunctional people can only thrive in environments where confusion reigns. They depend on you not knowing yourself. They need your neediness. They rely on your silence. But when you transform, when you rise in self-respect and truth, you break the entire cycle. And to someone operating from dysfunction, that feels like betrayal. Because now they have to meet a new version of you, a version that won't beg for breadcrumbs, that won't settle for emotional crumbs, that won't be manipulated by guilt or shame. You start to recognize their patterns. You see the gaslighting for what it is. You see the emotional abandonment, the lack of consistency, the empty promises, not as your fault, but as their dysfunction. You stop trying to earn love and start requiring honor. You stop explaining yourself and start enforcing your standards. And as you rise, the mask begins to slip off them. Not because you expose them with your words, but because your growth made it impossible for them to keep playing their game. You no longer respond the way you used to. You no longer apologize for setting boundaries. You no longer accept love that feels like fear. You've learned, you've healed, you've evolved, and your evolution has become a revelation. To those who benefited from your confusion, your growth is threatening. To those who used your kindness as leverage, your clarity is inconvenient. To those who depended on your silence, your voice feels dangerous. Transformation always creates tension, because when you start walking in the fullness of who you are, those who were only committed to a version of you that served them can no longer reach you. Your new standards convict their old behavior. Your healing disrupts their manipulation. Your boundaries expose their overreach. And the more you transform, the clearer it becomes. Some people didn't love you, they loved your compliance. They didn't support you, they supported your silence. But that's okay. Let them be exposed. Let the discomfort reveal the truth. You don't have to shrink back to make others comfortable. You don't have to regress to keep connections. Your transformation is not for their comfort, it's for your calling. You weren't created to live in cycles of emotional dysfunction. You were designed for wholeness, for freedom, for purpose. And sometimes the price of that freedom is separation. Transformation will cost you relationships. It will cost you environments that no longer align. It will cost you habits that once felt like home. But it will also give you something greater. It will give you vision. It will give you discernment. It will give you power. The power to say no without guilt. The power to walk away without closure. The power to love yourself enough to stop performing for people who never saw you clearly in the first place. And here's the thing, they will notice. They'll notice when you stop answering. They'll notice when you stop apologizing for having needs. They'll notice when your energy shifts from people-pleasing to purpose. And they may try to guilt you back into the old version of you. They may try to remind you of who you were. But you're not that person anymore. You've grown. You've shed layers. You've unlearned lies. You've reconnected with the truth of who you are. You are no longer ruled by the fear of being alone. You are no longer paralyzed by the thought of losing someone who doesn't value you. You are no longer emotionally available for manipulation, confusion, or dysfunction. Your peace matters too much. Your future matters too much. Your calling matters too much. And that unwavering commitment to yourself will always expose the motives of those who were only comfortable when you were broken. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them retreat. Let them say you've changed, because you have. That's the point. That's the testimony. That's the breakthrough. You are not here to stay the same. You are here to evolve, to ascend, to align. And your transformation is not just your healing, it's also your declaration. I will no longer participate in my own oppression. I will no longer allow dysfunction to disguise itself as love. I will no longer give access to people who only show up to drain, not to pour. So hold your head high. Don't explain your healing. Don't apologize for your transformation. Don't shrink to fit the spaces you've outgrown. Let your transformation speak. Let it reveal what needs to be revealed. Let it do the cutting, the separating, the exposing. Because what God is doing in you is sacred, is strategic, and it will not be compromised by. Your transformation is not a threat to those who truly love you. It's a confirmation. Because real love celebrates growth. Real love adjusts, aligns, and evolves with you. Real love isn't intimidated by your strength. It's inspired by it. So don't chase after what's falling away. Don't beg to be understood by those who refuse to see. Keep rising, keep healing, keep transforming. Because your transformation isn't just about leaving something behind. It's about stepping into something greater. It's about becoming the version of you that doesn't just survive but thrives. It's about aligning with truth so powerfully that no lie can stay hidden. It's about being so whole that brokenness has no place to land. And in that space, in that sacred, healed, and elevated space, you will attract what's for you. Not because you chased it, not because you compromised for it, but because you became it. You became the healed version, the clear version, the powerful version, the discerning version. And from that place, you will no longer attract dysfunction, you will expose it. You will no longer accommodate toxicity, you will dismantle it. You will no longer accept less, you will embody more. So rise, keep rising, and let your transformation tell the truth that your words never had to. Done.